Billy Gillespie, District 3.
Eric Roberts, Local 1826, Secretary Treasurer.
Fernando Benito, District 3.
Chris Armiger, Ops Chief, Fort Myers Beach.
Jane Thompson, Director of Finance for the district.
And I'm Scott Worth, Fire Chief and Negotiator for the district. Cool. All right, so your first time here since Jennifer retired. So what I thought we would do, real quick, I'll go over the ones just to make sure everybody's on the same page of what is already TA'd. So I show Articles 1, 4, 6. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 4, 6, 10, 11, 12, 23, and 25 as TA'd. Is that what you got?
Yeah, that's what I have.
Okay, cool. All right, so I figured we'll just start running through these other articles. We can take a break whenever we need to, for caucus or bathroom or whatever the case might be. Okay. I think a lot of these articles hopefully are very minor. We'll be able to get through them, starting with Article 2. Pass that down. Cancel it there. Okay. So Article 2, last time we had talked about it, some of the changes that were provided were your last proposals. Up top, I had changed the UC 9614, scratched that out and put certification 795, because that's the overall certification of the unit. We're currently going through the change right now, so there'll be a different UC number. So it's really the certification that determines the positions.
Okay.
You guys had proposed to strike 2.3, and I'm proposing a more condensed language. When we talked about it last time out, didn't think there was a problem keeping some form of language, but so this condensed language is our proposal to you.
Okay, and it's just stating that the union rep is not part of the chain of command?
Yes,
Okay.
it's, so last time we negotiated the contract, 2.3 we came up with, just to make it clear to the employees who were bringing stuff to you that needed to go to HR.
Right.
So when Jennifer was here, there was discussions about eliminating it. I felt it was still necessary, but we shortened it up.
Okay.
Okay.
What we'll do is just go through them, and then we'll take a break and
Yeah, come back and
get
decide.
them back on.
Sounds good. Any questions on that?
No.
You know what, I have an extra set, so hand that down to Fernando if you want. We should have enough copies for everybody. This is Article 3. I'll hand it out. Our proposal is no changes. So unless there's something specific you want to talk about, or when you come back, but I'm handing out an article basically that has no changes. Yeah. Do you have anything to talk about in that one?
Yeah, I'll bring something back to you. Just
Okay.
something minor.
Article 4 was TA'd, so the next one is Article 5.
Learn the system. Get back into the thing.
It's been a while.
If it's different on the second one, then I don't think either one of them should have it.
Now, if you have your proposal, I think you had proposed some
Yeah.
additional changes.
He has it.
You have it?
Yeah, let me,
Okay. So when,
yeah, give me the. updated.
So I'll just go through for the people who are watching remote. So one of the changes in 5.2 was asking for an updated written copy of the documents to be placed in the stations. We're pretty much digital with those, so thought that was a bit excessive, so we struck that out in our counter. And then under number 1, it was job descriptions, and it currently says only job descriptions for District 3 members, and for some reason that had been struck out, so we've kept that back in our proposal. Under 5.4, they were asking for 14 days to see policies before they were implemented, and we've adjusted that to 7 days, and we can change that language, but my concern is if there's something that's timely, it's like, such as like when we had to make changes for COVID or whatnot, 14 days is can be prohibitive.
Are you looking 7 days?
So
calendar
basically
days
give it,
or work days?
yeah, we provide it to you.
We would go with business days,
Yeah.
if anything,
Okay.
just to keep it
Business days.
consistent.
If that's, I'm okay with that. Okay.
So the e-station provided with an updated copy.
Mm-hmm.
What about ensuring an updated copy on the digital platform? Some of the things we have are old, or they're removed and we can't find them. There's
Yeah.
no specific folder that has everything put into it. You know, so if we went in, I think that's the main intent, is once a year to go in.
Yeah.
Oh, we've changed these, we're missing these, they're not there, let me go ahead and move them over, put them all in one spot.
I'm just trying to think logistically how that works, because it's something that's gonna happen in real time. You're gonna call me and go, hey, the policy's missing or whatever.
Right.
We're gonna fix it in real time, so I'm wondering,
But if we don't catch it for some reason, say like it's halfway through the year, we're moving things around, or we change platforms, or we,
right,
you know, Craig goes in and does something, and oh, I didn't move these policies over, we can't find them at this point, so where they go?
then we'll just blame Craig.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're updated in real time. I think if something ends up missing, you let us know and we change it in real time. So I'm not sure, I don't know what the once a year looks like as far as updating policies, because we don't implement new policies and then hold them off.
Right, it's not updating the policy, it's just ensuring that they're there. Like you're auditing to make sure that nothing was changed, moved, deleted,
Yeah.
you know, got lost somewhere, it's just like, hey.
What platform are you currently using?
We use SharePoint for our policies.
And that's where all these would be listed?
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah, just a yearly audit, just to make sure that they're.
we can think about that. I don't know
Okay.
what procedurally that looks like, but yeah.
Okay.
And then on 5, you had proposed striking 5.5. The items referenced in the article are not subject to the grievance procedure in Article 8 unless the grievance alleges a violation of the terms of this agreement. So we have put that back in and believe that grievances are tied to violations of the contract. Okay. Any other questions on 5?
No. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Do you have your proposal for 7?
I do. Yes, I have the.
All right. So our counter to that was to make no changes to the union business, only because I thought everything was working. So there's a lot of changes there. We can talk through them if you can guide me on the need for each of the proposed changes.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll discuss with, when we get to it.
Okay.
I know one thing in there, the after 1,800 hours, I
Mhm.
think that is just, to strike that just to carry on, that if they come down for some reason, like in a day,
Yeah.
they're basically prohibited to come down and talk to somebody, hey, you have something going on, next week there's a negotiation, do I got 5 minutes, can I stop in? The 1,800 hours says, no, you can't do it until it's after 1,800, and that's in 7.3. But it's a simple thing, I don't think, there's never been an issue
Yeah.
where you've, the district said, no, you can't have somebody come down and talk to you, or you can't have
Okay.
visitors, so. But I think that's the main thing behind that one, but there's the PPL bank and stuff in the back, we'll come back to and talk about that.
All right. It's in, so it's in 7.2?
7.3.
7.3.
Yeah.
7.3.
So-
And 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the 4 is about the.
4 is about meetings,
About the
right?
union meeting. The 7.3 is the representatives are not able to basically visit or meet with individuals
Mhm.
until after 1800.
I think the last one, but as long as it doesn't impact work-related operations, as we had in the last, in our original proposal, I believe.
Yeah. And then, in 7.6, negotiators not subject to, it says unless minimum staffing requirements are met.
Mhm.
The only question I have with that is if, say it is a DDP at the time,
Yeah.
if they're on shift, if they're subject to calls, then it's gonna hold negotiations, everything's gonna be put on pause. So I don't know if there's a way to either find coverage
Yeah.
or,
I thought about that one a little bit, and what I would say is maybe if we put something in there, because here's the thing, if a structure fire drops, a working fire drops.
Everybody goes.
We're probably shutting down, so,
but if,
I guess, yeah, we probably don't need
like,
it.
if a general arrest, general medical call goes or something, and the
Yeah.
other units on, they're already on a call,
Mhm.
and you're leaving to go run,
Yeah.
a priority 3 medical calls.
Could we limit that to the lead negotiator? So for example, if you got your truck down here and a call comes in, we can keep communicating, but at least the truck could go, it could still go as to rescue or whatever.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
I
like I
thought's
said, like
something-
that, the DDP or the lead negotiator, whoever's
Okay.
on that time, would be fine.
I don't think I.
Keep it as a DEP.
Yeah. it's a
DVP.
DVP, yeah.
So with 7.3 and 7.6, those two changes, do you want to still go back and talk about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to them about
Okay.
7.7, then we'll come back to it then, I think, but, yeah, I think it'd be hard.
Okay. Copies. Your copies. Article 8 is bad about this. Look at the screen. So, last meeting, we had brought changes, and I think we were going to talk about it, or you guys were going to talk about it, but anyway, these are the changes that we brought last meeting, so I just want to go through them again. So, one of the things, it's basically, the red you see is reorganizing it. If you go to the second page, you'll see that class action grievances is struck out of 8.6, and it's brought up to the top, basically where we talk about grievances, and then we talk about class action grievances. Now, currently, class action grievances talk about a class of employees, and in our mind, that's vague. So basically, what we're proposing is to define a class action grievance as a grievance with 2 or more members grieving the same action or inaction. Okay? And so if it's a class action grievance down in 8.2, we're requesting that it be in writing and include the following. It already says they have to be in writing, but be in writing and include the following: the article and section of the agreement alleged to have been violated, a full statement of the grievance of facts, dates, and times, violations with remedies suggested, signatures of the agreed employee and date signed. What we have, that's for grievances, and then for class action grievances, what we're looking for is a written statement from each aggrieved member, a completed class action grievance form, which we'd have to create this form, but it would include the endorsement of 1826 leadership as class action status, and then all individual statements. And if it's class action, it could bypass the first steps and go right to step 3, which is presenting it to the operations chief. Now, last time we were here, you had talked about having each member sign rather than write a full statement. So basically, 1826 writes the blanket statement and the member signs on to it. So that's where we stand on that process. If you want to talk about it.
If you have a written statement from each aggrieved member.
So that is the one that we had talked about replacing.
Right, and then but then under the next one, the completed card, it must include all individual statements.
Yeah, so we can change, we would change that, so basically it would be a blanket statement. There's a couple things, there's been class actions that have come through that didn't represent the entire group, so that's the reason for 2 or more who feel they are aggrieved. It better defines who are the ones being harmed, so that we can better solve it. And putting that blanket statement to it and just having each individual say, yeah, this is correct, and I'm signing on to it.
So you're not looking
Allows
for
us.
a
Basically, what we're looking for is, we've also had grievances that come in that are very vague.
Right.
So it basically takes a follow-up or a shot in the dark of trying to solve a problem. So we're looking for more detail, and we're looking for it to represent the people who are actually aggrieved and not a whole classification of employees.
Okay, so, but if we do have a whole classification, we have the
Then
entire
they would all
rank.
sign it. They
But
would
they
all
don't,
sign
but you
it.
don't want individual statements from?
No, I'm good with changing that. We talked about it
Okay.
last time. I just didn't
Okay.
change that language.
Yeah.
Changes, okay.
If it affects the entire classification, is there true about the logistical nightmare of getting every employee signed on to sign a
Well,
thing? When the local does have the
Yeah.
authority to bargain on behalf of members, I think if a principal officer is signed
Mhm.
and says this affects a group of employees,
Yeah.
those individual signatures aren't even that important. Now, I do feel if we're grieving the entire classification, we need to notify you
Yeah.
on why we're doing the entire classification. And if it's only 3, 4 employees, in our statement, we should be listing who that is. I don't think the signature,
If we mess up bad enough that we're affecting a whole class, are we likely into an unfair labor practice?
That's
Or
possible.
would that be something?
but it's
Could we
possible.
have a class action that affects a whole class and not have
A class-
committed an
unfair
unfair
labor.
labor practice?
I think you can.
You
Yeah.
can,
I think
you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
If, and what is the ramification if we can't obtain one of the member signatures for some reason, they're on vacation, things like that? So then we turn around, now we don't get their signature to file the grievance, is the grievance now void?
no, it's not
It
void,
creates-
but.
It creates issues.
Yeah, I guess my question is if I'm following up or Chief's following up on a grievance,
Mhm.
and we know the people who feel aggrieved, we know who to talk with. We come to you and we say, okay, I want to set up a meeting with little Johnny and little Billy and, not you, but, you know what I mean? Hypothetical firefighters or whatever the case might be, and we have those meetings to try and figure out what it is so we can try and solve the problem.
But can we list those individuals in the form rather than just having them signature because of one of the things like you said?
Yes, but here's what I would say. I guess my intent is for us to better know who to talk to better solve the problem. So if you're listing them, does that mean that we all understand that we're able to interview them and understand their problem? If they come in and they go, well, I don't have any issue with this. Somebody put my name on that paper.
I think at a class action grievance level,
Yeah.
The local, or at very least the DVP,
Yeah.
will need to be involved in any resolution or
course.
process to get to a resolution.
Yeah. However you want to structure
We'll come up
other
with
language.
something. Yeah, we'll come up with something.
The intent is for us to be able to understand who has an issue so that we can make sure we talk with them and we address their issues.
Right.
I don't want somebody
Right,
left out.
and we're fine with leaving, like, knowing who it is. We
Right.
just want to make sure we're not tying our hands by
Understood.
not being able to get a hold of somebody or trying to make it a nightmare of getting everybody involved. Got it.
There's a relationship there with, you've asked for a more condensed timeline on managing grievances. So that also ties into like expediting my work at that level of the grievances. It's the chief's point, to your point. It's just, I need to know who to talk to in an expeditious way, because at the same time, you're asking to expedite the process.
Yeah, and there's always a possibility that when you start looking into the grievances, you
Need
start getting
extension.
through each step, you start learning new information. Sometimes a response at step one gives the union more perspective on the issue, where
Yeah.
it may narrow the problem down or it may widen it. So there could be, additional grieved employees, or it may not be as bad as we thought. So,
And that brings up a good point. 8.4 is where different timelines were proposed. So 8.4, step 2, you guys had proposed going from 12 business days to 10 business days. Step 2 is typically going to be your battalion chief, first level chief officer. I'm okay with 10 days, but I think 12 days was probably on purpose because it gives you 4 shifts. So I don't mind changing it, but it's going to put a tighter timeline on the BC if they're trying to solve it.
And then we're talking about 10, we've changed to 10 business days, so I mean, 12 business days is a long time.
Okay? All right.
Yeah, the 10
It's
minutes.
still
You
2
guys-
weeks.
2 weeks, so it's
Yeah.
still,
Okay.
the other question is, if there.
I'm fine with it if you are.
You're good, okay.
We have chief officer, we don't have acting chief officer, we have no BC.
Mhm. Well, if that's the no BC, then I believe we would just go from step 1 to step 3.
Okay.
you said step 3 or step 2?
Well, step 2 is basically the
Okay.
first chief officer.
Okay.
So if there is no chief officer because they're out for whatever reason, then the grievance would go from the direct supervisor to step 3. If it's a company officer submitting it, it's going to go to step 3. So, Yeah.
Shift us. Sure.
Yeah, they shift it short, so.
But also consider the battalion chief, it's handled at the level of the battalion chief, not that shift's battalion chief necessarily that occurred on, unless you're trying to seek a resolution in the same day. Right, so the absence of a battalion chief on any shift wouldn't negate the following shift's battalion chief handling.
Well, but the only problem with that is now you're wanting to do, or you'd have to do interviews with the employee off duty or come in off duty, so you're asking the battalion chief to either come in off duty, or you're asking the other employee to stay off duty to do things instead of fixing it on their shift.
I'll support that.
The idea is we always want
Yeah.
things done at the lowest level.
Right, no, I agree, that's why I'm saying if there is no BC, then, is the acting BC able to handle that?
I wouldn't have an
What do you
issue
think?
with an acting BC trying to solve a grievance. I would trust them to do that. We trust them to do it in step 1, so.
Right.
If they're sitting in that role as an acting BC, like Chief said, I want to get these things solved at the lowest levels, so. by all means.
I don't think we would have an issue with that, I mean,
Yeah.
No, but the acting BC might be the direct supervisor too, so,
correct.
yeah. Okay.
All right. 8.5 is just changing the
Randy
titles.
Vernon says again.
Another reason we don't let it work. Yeah. There you go. No open flames up here. Now you know why. Yeah.
We have an extinguisher.
8.5, step 3, we just changing the titles there. Assistant chief. It's
Mhm.
more inclusive, so, with who could handle it. 8.6, step 4 is when it comes to the fire chief. You had proposed 10 business days. There is typically more legwork and research, so I put back 20 days, which is what it currently reads. And it also brings up in step 3, do we need separate timeline for class actions versus regular grievances? Should it be 20 days for the operations chief to be able to conduct those interviews? And it's going to be more extensive trying to work through a class action than a regular grievance. So do we need additional language to address that?
Let's talk about it over break.
Yeah.
Okay. know how one vote's gonna go. I have one yes. All right. You had proposed under 8.8 for arbitration, changing that to 10 business days, no issues there. We had talked about this in the past. No, it was in picking the arbitrator, I believe.
Yeah. no,
So, okay. And then other than that, I don't think there are any other changes. That is our proposal on frequency. Any other questions?
No, okay.
You know what? Let's hold on. I'll come back and let's hit PPL and wages at the end.
And 11 and 12 are TA.
11 and 12, all done. Next one is 13. Pretty basic. Okay, so on 13, if you have your original draft, there's a couple things that don't show up in here. You have the original, your original?
Yeah.
All right.
It's in one.
Sorry about that. I tried pulling, I had to pull all your stuff manually into here. I never got it from Jen, so. On 1312, you had made some changes to somebody who was moved back because of reduction in staffing. That they would go into the highest step for the pay rank which they're assigned to, fully assigned to. And I've changed that to where I keep our existing language and I just strike out the class of pay, and that'll make sense when we get to the pay article. Okay. 1314, you had limited it to introductory fire training, scratching out orientation. We are proposing to stay with the, that's fine, sorry. Somebody wants my vote. So we're proposing on 1314 to keep it as written. And the reason is adding fire in there doesn't cover the scope of everybody that you guys have in this agreement. So there's no real benefit to limiting it to fire training that I can tell.
I think the idea was to just remove the orientation because the last group we had never completed the orientation process.
Mhm.
So technically, they would never come off probation, which, that's not the case, but, and of course, it was a hurricane, is the reason why it never got completed, it's not. But I think that was the main idea, that make sure it's something that is achievable, that come off, they're getting signed off in orientation, how long is the orientation process?
My only hesitation with that, Todd, is that orientation is what we all know, well,
Is it the 4-week orientation, 1-week orientation, like, that's what I'm saying, it determines.
right, so we have somebody in fire school right now, they come out, if we put them through an orientation, basically when they come out of fire school, we know that their 12 months will start at that point.
Right.
So, who's undergoing introductory training? During the training. So what's the difference if it says employees undergoing introductory training will be on probation during the training and will remain on probation for at least 12 months? What do we gain by taking out orientation?
If you start their orientation starts and it lasts 6 weeks. You lose 6 weeks on the back end,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
Or like you said, they don't complete orientation like they did, 2 years ago, and then,
We can talk about that.
yeah,
So basically-
it's really not a big.
So basically, you want their probationary period to start after completion of the orientation.
After orientation.
So 12 months on the road,
Right.
on shift.
Yeah, sure.
Correct.
Is that what, but that's what this says, right?
I think this includes the,
The orientation.
I haven't read yours, sorry, this, yeah.
So the way, yeah, if you read mine, it's clean, it shows you what it reads now.
Oh, no, he's right. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, I remember that from last week.
Completion of the, yes.
Yeah.
So it's okay?
Yeah.
And then the last change was at the very end of 1314, you had proposed adding the district must notify the employee prior to the 12-month period. We have no problem with that. Any other questions on that one?
Glasses would be a headache.
You'll need your original copy to see the additional items.
Okay.
So, Article 14 on holidays, your last proposal included adding 3 more holidays.
Mhm.
Christmas Eve, Patriots' Day, and New Year's Eve. I think that would make 15, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. And then you had proposed adding 12 hours of pay for everybody on top of the $500 that the employees who work the holiday get now. We can't accept those changes, so I struck those out, or basically kept the article as it's written. In 14.2, I am proposing that, we've had this situation pop up a couple times, for somebody who works half a shift, they would be entitled to half of the stipend. So if you do 12 or less hours, you'd be compensated at $250 for the holiday rather than the full $500.
Okay.
And if somebody, so if you split the shift with somebody and do a shift trade, the person who works the other half will get the other stipend, the other $250 for working their part of it. Okay?
Okay.
One second. Well, you shall be eligible for Yes, okay. On 14.2, that 14.2D delta,
Mhm.
that language was language that got us kicked off on the last contract, so you struck it out, and we agree with your strikeout on that.
Okay.
Okay. 14.5 is a change that we are proposing. So,
Long discussion language.
do what?
I think we had lots of discussion on this.
Yeah, yeah. So on 14.5, it currently reads that somebody who's mandatoried on a holiday gets double time. Our concern is that that could cause people to not volunteer because they're getting ordered and they get double time. So our proposal is for those that volunteer to work the holiday, they will be entitled to 2 times their normal hourly rate of pay. Those who are mandatory will be paid at time and a half. So we're offering it. We want people to step up and volunteer rather than having to be mandatory.
The issue that that's going to create is now that, so I have vacation, I'm going to be mandatory, nobody volunteered. You mandatory me.
Mhm.
And I go, you know what, I'll just take it. So I volunteer to get my double time. So it looks better on the books,
Yeah.
but it's still making the employee ruin their vacation. It's making the employee ruin their time off, or having to not get the holiday with the family.
The hope
So-
is that the person who doesn't have a vacation, one of the other people who can work it will work it. That's the hope. If the guy's getting mandatory, he's getting mandatory either way. And he's getting,
Right, but if he's getting mandatory, he's gonna turn around and volunteer for it to get the extra halftime.
yeah.
So it's better for the books, but it's not actually better for the employee.
Is he
Okay.
on vacation?
No, he's not on
Oh, okay,
vacation,
okay.
so let's say.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
If he's
it's-
on
it's-
vacation, how is he subject?
So I
to
work the
it?
23rd, say.
I get what you're saying.
And now it's the 24th, and you're gonna be ordered, and you're like, nah, you know what, I'll just volunteer, because I'd rather get double time.
I get what you're saying.
So it doesn't really,
I was just making sure.
it's not making the employee step up to be volunteer for the time off.
Yeah.
It's just gonna change their answer about how much they're gonna get paid.
As it stands now, there's no incentive to volunteer.
Well,
It is
but-
incentive, time and a half.
Yeah, you get time and a half, but the incentive is.
Yeah, but if I'm the guy and I'm on the bubble, I just wait
And you get the
told.
stipend. The
Either
$5
way,
stipend.
you get the stipend.
Right, but if you're getting mandatory, I mean, the reason why we had the double time in there in the first place is because you're mandatory because you do not want to be at work. You're gonna spend the holiday with your family.
Right.
And the district is taking that from you due to lack of staffing.
Right.
So if the staffing levels are 100% and we only have 2 people off, we don't have to do this.
So here's what I would ask. For 3 years, let's see if we have less mandatory and more voluntary on holidays, and see how it plays out.
We'll talk about that.
All right.
Yeah. Because before we had the double time,
Yeah.
we still had mandatory holidays. We had,
I'm sure we'll still have it. I'm just hoping we can lessen it a bit. We can induce people to take the holiday rather than being told you're working it. Because I think that adds to the perspective of,
But
yes,
usually-
I'm here, I volunteered to be here, for that I get a little bit extra, versus I have to be here, you know what I mean?
right, so you're going to get the people to volunteer on days like, Labor Day and things where they're not really doing a lot, but on Christmas, you're going to ordering people for time and a half to not lose their Christmas with their kids. That's the hard sell.
But again, they were going to be mandatory either way, right?
But now they're gonna be compensated less.
Yeah, but now they're getting less pay for it.
Okay.
So,
I think this can be a positive. Just to put that on the record. I think it can be a positive change. The next article is 15. So on 15, your original proposal was to strike 15.9. That was the language about parking vehicles for sale. We had discussions about that being a problem in the past, so we don't have a problem with that being struck out, so you do not see it in our proposal. Okay. So 15.9 in the original proposal. is not in there. So on the current 15.9, union agrees that the routine, currently it reads, the union agrees that the routine maintenance and repair of the station's facilities and whatnot, we've added cleaning in there. And then on 15.10, the district and union agree that maintenance and repairs to facilities or fixed facilities equipment that may require a permit as identified. So all that language is existing. You guys had proposed to strike out or repairs which require special licensure, equipment, or certifications. I believe you struck that because it was redundant with the requirements for a permit and being licensed. And then we've added in there, however, tasks that fall within the scope of the member's job description and are expected to be performed on emergency incidents are also expected to be completed in the course of maintaining the district's assets. So. And our intent there is to kind of be more global with the scope of duties that fall under our purview and how we are able to take care of our buildings and trucks and whatnot. That's our change. Questions on that or discussion?
No, not at this time.
Didn't the last contract, didn't we have like a whole bunch of details about? I guess it's still in there in 15.9. We talk about lawn mowing, shrub trimming, weed eating, painting, patching.
Which we don't do that anymore, so I don't, if we're not doing the lawn mowing things, can we not strike that? It's being done.
No, because we may need to do that in the future.
Going backwards?
Of course. So that's our proposal.
Yeah.
So 16, I have 16, but it was intended, I believe, I show 16 and 26 were ready for TA. I don't even know if there's changes, honestly. I don't think there are any changes. So our proposal is 16 as it's written, unless you guys want to talk about anything in it.
No, not at this time.
Okay? Is it a good time to take a break?
I mean, we can talk about it
Sure.
after.
Okay.
You have
It's
some.
just the dependents after age 26.
Oh, okay.
What's that?
You want to take a few and dig through what we've done so far, or you want
Yeah,
to
we
keep
can do
going?
that. We'll take a break, and that way you guys can discuss and go through these and come back. Yeah.
15, 20 minutes? Come back at 10 o'clock. About
Okay.
18 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. Greg, let me know when you're off.